I think I'm right in saying that you were the first Conservative to come out against the Prime Minister. How are you feeling about it this morning?
Not much better than I was when I first came out against the Prime Minister about 18 months ago. That was long before Partygate, you will recall, Kate.
Indeed so, but he's still there, isn't he?
He's still there. And as you know, I've taken a lot of flack because I have said very clearly and very publicly that I don't believe that the middle of an international crisis, and it is the worst crisis since 1945, is the time to change the leader of the Conservative Party. But that may not be my gift, because it looks very much as though, whatever I think, events are going to overtake that, and we shall see what happens.
Yeah, why do you think it is that so many of your backbench colleagues just still feel that he is the best person for the job?
I think in part there's residual loyalty, but also I think a lot of people do recognise that we are in the middle of a very grave crisis. And the last thing we want to do is destabilise the government of the United Kingdom and potentially, therefore, destabilise the coalition against Putin's criminal war when we are facing such a dire circumstance. But, and it is a very big but, if, and I suspect this may happen, there are more revelations, more Metropolitan Police fines, and if Sue Gray's report is damning, as it may well be, then whatever I think, that ground will shift. There's no doubt about that.
Do you think that it all depends at the end of the day what happens with the local elections? Because if, you know, it is basically a view on what people think of the Prime Minister, a protest vote or otherwise. And if the Conservative councillors still do well, then it's all over, isn't it? I mean, the Prime Minister just stays in post and on we move.
I don't think so. There's the cost of living crisis. There are a lot of things coming down the track that are going to be very difficult to handle. My hope and expectation would be that if things get markedly worse for the Prime Minister, then he will do the honourable thing and resign. Now, that may be wishing that pigs will fly, because under those circumstances, I still wouldn't want a leadership election. But I think there is a way through this. I've suggested publicly, and nobody's knocked me down yet, that the Deputy Prime Minister, who after all stood in for the Prime Minister when the Prime Minister had COVID, could take over and lead what effectively I've described as a war cabinet, a crisis cabinet, if you like, until such time as it is sensibly possible to have a leadership election, because that election will take 3 months. It will be contested, and it will take out of play effectively, it'll take their mind off the ball, key players such as Elizabeth Truss, Ben Wallace, Michael Gove, the Deputy Prime Minister himself, possibly Rishi Sunak, and many others. That is not a desirable circumstance when you're facing what effectively could be the start of a world war.
Why do you mention Rishi Sunak there, given that he's also broken the law?
Mr. Sunak is in a slightly different position. My understanding, and it's only my understanding, is that he actually genuinely went expecting to attend a cabinet meeting and found himself under rather compromising circumstances. And nobody has suggested, so far as I'm aware, that he's done this more than once. It looks very much as though the Prime Minister's offering to the House of Commons yesterday may be slightly undermined by future events and announcements from the Metropolitan Police. But of course, as various of your guests have said in the course of the morning, we have to wait and see what that brings.
But the defence that you suggested there for Mr. Sunak in the cabinet room, that's exactly the same one as the Prime Minister's used.
At the moment, yes. The problem is that there may be a series of offences on the part of the Prime Minister, and there's also the full Sue Gray report that's coming down the track, and we have to wait and see what that says. My personal view is that the Prime Minister's situation has been untenable for quite a long time, and I've said this very openly, remains untenable. I have a lot of sympathy with the view that Mark Harper expressed yesterday, and indeed Lord Garnier this morning said that and I think it was a delicate phrase, said that the Prime Minister has an eccentric relationship with the truth. That is true. But the bottom line for me is that we are in the middle of a very serious international situation, and we have to get through this, and we have to get us through it, Europe through it, and the world through it. And that actually, at the moment, for my view, has to be the priority.
Just tell me what the mood was like in the meeting with the backbench MPs yesterday when the Prime Minister was talking to you.
I will be very frank with you. I stayed for 3 minutes and left. I didn't storm out the huff. I found the tone of the meeting from the very beginning, shall we say, very different from the tone in the House of Commons. And I had gone expecting a serious meeting about serious issues. I didn't expect a lot of bluster and pantomime performance, and I'm afraid that's what I heard. And it seemed to me that my time was better spent doing other things.
Could you contextualise the pantomime performance?
Well, in 3 minutes, all I can say is it was fairly, bear in mind the 1922 committee is supposed to be a private meeting. So traditionally we don't talk about it, but it's a known fact that if you want to publicise something, you talk about it in the 22 committee, and if you want to keep a secret, you make a speech in the chamber. But that said, I did not like the tone of the meeting, Kay.
Yeah, I wanted to, I mean, you know, let's just explore that a little bit further, if we may, because obviously the outward-looking face from the Prime Minister yesterday in the Commons was one of contrition. Are you saying that it was much more bluff and bluster and, you know, jazz hands in the 1922 committee?
What I heard myself, and bear in mind, I have to say again, I was there for all 3 minutes. I'm told that the meeting got more serious later, and certainly some colleagues asked fairly searching questions. But what I heard, I didn't care for too much.
Do you think he just doesn't take it seriously enough?
I think you could say that, yes.
OK, I've pushed you hard enough on that. It's good to talk to you. Thank you so much, Sir Roger, for joining us on the programme. Thank you.
Thank you.